Welcome to Bandit's Keep. I'm Daniel. In this video, we're going to talk about creating monsters for our games. So there's obviously tons and tons of monster books out there. There's lots of monsters that come with the original game, but I always find creating truly different and interesting monsters to be just a fun part of building our world. This is especially useful when you have experienced players who are used to seeing a lot of the same monsters. And if you're playing in a world where maybe it's what some people might consider low magic, where each monster for the most part is unique. So we can create various different types of monsters with a pretty easy system. Now, I was working a while back on a supplement, which should be out soon, for the Hateful Place with my friend Nikki, and we were creating monsters. We wanted to create some monsters for the supplement. And what I did was something I do a lot when I make monsters, and I thought I'd talk about it here. So we can see here I made this this random table, and effectively what we're doing is we're creating chimeric monsters, mixtures of different animals and stuff to create a monster, right? Which makes them monstrous and freaky. So I basically have a table here. You roll 3 times. One's the head, one's the body, and the other one is you figure it out. You kind of make it work. So if you quickly go down this list, I know it's a little bit messy because this was just a draft. If you roll 1, it's a mammal, and then there's a list of mammals: lion, goat, bear, wolf, elephant, raccoon. If you roll a 2, it's a bird, hawk, owl, peacock, blah, blah, blah. 3, it's reptile. 4, it's fantasy creature. 5, it's a robotic. 6 is a oceanic. So basically we've got a mix, right? So we can roll some things like this. This one here was a body of a peacock, a head with robotic, with a taser tongue, with a turtle shell, and a charm type ability, which we added to it because we started to kind of work them out. So we're going to use this kind of basic idea to create our monsters. Now, there's lots of books that do this. I think the Tome of Adventure Design does this. There's the Weird Creature Generator, I think it's called, that Goodman Games, I think also Limitations of Fun Pursuits, might have been where it first came out. They're all similar to this, but there's no reason why we can't make our own. And what's fun about making our own is that it can be unique to our setting. We can think about what exists there and then make it work for us. So let me show you how I'm going to do it, and then we'll make a few monsters. All right, first of all, let's look and see what we need when we make a monster if we're making it for BX. Now, for the Hateful Place, all monsters have kind of the same stats, so you just need a cool description and you're good to go, and maybe a special ability. But in BX and in other OSR games or in 5th edition, you're going to need different kinds of stats. So what do we need here? I just opened up to a page in the expert book, the Weasel Giant. You've got armor class, you've got hit dice, you've got move, you have an attack and how much damage it does, number appearing, save as, morale, treasure type, and alignment. And then obviously you have a description of the monster. We're going to work the other way though. We're going to create the description of the monster first, and then we're going to create those other stats as needed. So let's jump over here into my iPad. I just have a document open and we'll start messing with it. Okay, so this is just what I was just talking about, what makes up the monster, what it looks like, the stats, and what we need. So I kind of put these ones down here, the morale, save, treasure type, and alignment as a bottom line, because I don't know that we care about that. What we really care about is their armor class, their hit dice, their movement, and their attack. If we create a monster and we need to worry about its morale and stuff, we can figure that out as we go, but I don't think that necessarily needs to be random, right? I think we can base that on the creature. So let's start with a few things. If we're talking about the description of the monster, we're going to want to know how big it is. So we can have various different sizes, everything from tiny to gigantic. Depending on your system, there might actually be actual stats for how big something is when it's these sizes. But I don't worry too much about that. We're going to think about what this means to us. But let's just get this roughed out and then we'll kind of fill it out a little bit more. So then we're going to want to know what its body type is like. Humanoid would be an easy one, right? And then we could do something like, let's say, serpent. By the way, I'm just kind of doing a mix here because I'm not creating it for a specific setting. But if you were creating it, let's say, for a swamp setting, you'd think about those monsters, right? So let's say a humanoid, serpent. Let's go like a dragon type body. We're going to say bug or insect. We'll do bird, and then if you get stuck, like let's say we're stuck right now, we need one more, right? Let me look at the expert book. Again, I found the best way, in my opinion, to work on stuff for a system is to look at what's already there. So if we look at this, this is actually the wilderness encounters because it breaks it down by type. And if we look at what we have here, we have animal subtable, we've got flyer, so we got gargoyles, griffins, hawks, so those are all birds. Manicar is a mix, Pegasus, rock is a bird. I can just look at these and see if any of these seem like a type. Killer bee would be a bug. I see we have like crocodiles and toads and stuff, so maybe some kind of amphibious. I'm not sure if, I don't think crocodiles are actually amphibians, but you know, spiders aren't insects and all that other goodness, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to put them all in one group, right? So let's say amphibious. So I had dragon on here because I thought it'd be kind of cool to be a dragon type body, but you know what? I'm wondering if it might not be more interesting to make it more like, let's say, a rodent. So we're keeping these a little bit more down to earth, I guess. All right. So humanoid is pretty simple. Oh, you know what too? Looking at this might actually be a D8 list. All right. So we're going to do this. I'm going to add dragon back on. And I'm going to put the 8th one, I'm going to actually call it chimeric. So I roll 2 to 3 times on this table. All right, now as we're looking at this, we're going to say, I mean, humanoid is fine. We don't need to worry about that because we have size, right? So that'll help us there. Serpent, I think, is probably pretty fine as well. But with rodent, we could do something. We could put some examples if we want. We want to put rat. We could put like shrew, weasel. I don't know if these are all rodents, but you know, you get the idea. And this will just give us an idea, and we can actually roll on this if we have enough of them, right? Okay, those 3 I'll put for now. Bug, we can do, let's see, bee. We can do spider. We can even do worm. I know the worm might fall into serpent, but worm. Okay, birds is birds. We can do any type of amphibious is where I want to put crocodile, toad, lizard. I know that all lizards and stuff are not amphibious, but this, we know, again, this gives us some options. Dragon, I think, is dragon. That's fine, right? So now when we're rolling on this, we've got some options. If we roll rodent, we have a couple of different options. If we roll bug, we have a few different options, etc., right? And we have a size. Now, the next thing we want to do is think about its movement. Now, of course, one option on the movement table will be as per body type. And so you roll a humanoid, they walk, right? But I think we can then look at some of these other means of movement and then kind of figure out how it would work. Like we can say fly, we can say slither, we can say bipedal. So again, if we get a rodent, but it's bipedal, it'll be standing up. We could do bipedal and then quadrupedal, and that might not actually connect, right? It might be a little interesting. And I think then we can do burrowing. I think that's 6. So that's 6. So we have, let me number these so we know where we're at. Okay, I added a couple more. I added jump and immobile, but draws things to it, because I think those will be fun for monsters, right? Okay, we have that now. Let's look at attacks. So attack method, you can do weapon. Bite would be obvious one. Claw. Sting could be a breath weapon. And maybe some other kind of projectile. So again, if it's really monstrous and it uses a weapon, you're going to have to maybe mess with this. This is how random tables work, right? But this looks pretty good. So we have 6 there for attack method. Now let's look at any extras. So I think here it's going to be, should it have something special? So some of this is going to be no, right? Because not everyone's going to be special. So we could do, I'm just going to start with 1 and I'm going to say undead. 2 will be this spell-like ability. And then I think we're just going to go 3 through 6, none. You know, not everything should have an extra ability like that. Okay, and then let's get into some skin types, because I think that will kind of matter. So let's go skin. Now let's show you why all this is going to come together. 1 is as type, because again, we're going to have that be a thing. Let's do scales, fur, just regular flesh. Because again, if we roll like a rodent, but then it just has flesh and no fur, that could be kind of interesting. So I guess bare flesh would be the way to say it. Feathers. Let's do a shell. Okay, so remember we talked about we need armor class, we need hit die, we need attack. So now we're going to use these tables to formulate that. I'm going to start with the baseline monster. Basically, I'm going to say our base monster is 1 hit die, a 9 armor class, and his movement is 120. So basically like a regular person. And then we're going to add and subtract to this based on what we roll here. Okay, so I filled in some details so we can actually make some monsters with this. I'll kind of make a monster as we go along, and I'll talk about the different tables. So again, our base stats are AC 9, hit dice 1, movement 120, attack 1, damage a d6. So first we're going to roll for our size, which is a d6. Okay, 6, gigantic. Okay, so here gigantic is going to give me plus 8 hit dice. So it's 9 hit dice. It gives me plus 4 to the AC. So I'm using descending AC, so that'll drop the AC down to 5. And it does 3 to 18 damage. Okay, so it's gigantic, but what is it? Let's make another roll here. 2. Oh, it's a serpent. All right, this slows it down 30 feet on its movement. So its movement's going to drop down to 90, which is probably good so the party can run when they see this giant serpent. Okay, let's see how it actually moves though. 2. It flies. Oh, it's a flying serpent. Okay. So now a flying serpent is going to have a fly speed. So see, I'm noticing a spot here. So I put bird gets plus 120 on movement. I feel like if something can fly, let's do a basic fly speed of 120, which isn't super fast, but I feel like that's fine. Because if it's a bird, it'll go even faster, right? So it says flying serpent. So its movement is 90, but then it's 120 flying. Cool. All right, let's move up to the next one. Attack method for the snake. It's a D6. It got a 6. Projectiles. I mean, I wrote thorns in parentheses, but it has projectiles. This snake, so we'll say it spits its venom. That makes the most sense, right? Now we're going to see if there's anything extra about this snake. Let's see. Roll a D6. Got a 5. No. Okay. And finally, its skin. I got a 5. Feathers. Okay, let's get to plus 1 to its AC. Okay, so looking at this thing, we've got a gigantic flying snake that is covered in feathers that spits venom. Although, yeah, it spits venom. It's probably acidic or something, right? So it spits it. And again, this is where, like, if you're playing a game like, let's say, 5th edition, where there's different types of attacks like that, that's really going to matter. In some games, it just spits its venom and it burns you, whatever. It doesn't matter. So it spits the venom at you. It does 3 to 18 damage, but only gets 1 attack. It is 9 hit dice, though. So this thing's pretty tough because it's gigantic. Let's make one more. Okay, here we go. Next. I got one. It's tiny, and it is a rodent. Oh, a tiny rodent. Okay. All right, interesting. And the movement is slithers. Ooh, tiny little rodents that slither around. That's interesting. Attack method is it bites. It is nothing special about it except for its skin is S type. Okay, so these are basically like tiny little rats that just kind of slither around and they bite. So they're not particularly powerful. But again, now this could be a swarm and we could work it out like that. Let's do one more. See, this is fast and easy. All right, 6. Okay, gigantic again. Whoosh, okay. A gigantic bug. All right, let's see. Let's see if it's a flyer. Nope, it's a spider. Of course it is. It's a gigantic spider. Love me some gigantic spiders. Its move is burrowing. Ooh, a gigantic burrowing spider. And attack method as a sting. Let's see if it's poison. Is not poisonous. So it's just a dangerous sting. It's not poisonous. 6, roll again twice on the extra. Ooh, okay. So this is 2 chances. No. No. All right. So I rolled again twice, but I got nothing. And finally, its skin is a shell. Okay. So this thing's going to be pretty tough, right? It's got a shell. It's a gigantic spider that has a sting. Non-poisonous, but a sting. Burrows through the ground. Very interesting. So we can use this to create some really quick monsters. And depending on where you're at, you can create specific tables to what you're doing. You're on some kind of underwater world. Put down a whole bunch of different types of creatures that live under the sea and mix them together. And think about what powers they might have. Add that to your list, then roll them up. I could sit here, as we probably just saw, I could sit here and create 10, 15 monsters in half an hour. It's kind of fun to do. And then we can kind of imagine what they look like and present them to our players. And they're going to be different than what they would normally get out of the book, but yet still somewhat the same. So I'm going to put, this is just rough, I'm going to put a link to this so you guys can download it. I would love for people to grab this, roll up a couple of monsters, and put them in the comments. Make me a monster, put it in the comments. I would love to see them. If you haven't done so already, go ahead also in the description and follow the link to join my Discord server. Over there you can chat with a bunch of other awesome RPG people. There's also a link to my Patreon if you want to support the channel that way. That would be great. The other way you could support me is by liking the video, subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, and ringing the bell so you get notifications. I'll talk to you soon.